Hey, it's Todd Staples from Luminary Business Podcast. I had such an insanely productive week in terms of reaching out to great people like yourself. My calendar has been wildly overbooked with calls. So what I decided to do is, instead of take 15-minute calls I literally had 49 people book a call for the next 10 days, which is impossible for me to do and still have time to actually shoot the podcast. So here's what I decided. I took some of the questions that I got from the people I spoke with already, put together a little FAQ, and I'm making this quick video to answer your questions. And then down below in this email, I've included a list of the 3 segments of the podcast and the type of questions that I will ask you if we decide to do an episode. So I'm just going to dive right in. Thank you for taking the time to book, and I appreciate you allowing me to make this video instead of take the call, because I really need to keep that time open to shoot episodes, as I've already found a half a dozen or so people to do the episodes, and maybe you will be the one to book one of the other shows. So here we go. So when I've been speaking with people, they want to know a little bit about who I am, how I found you, why I think you'd be a good fit for the show, and then a couple other things as well. So right off the bat, I want to say I do not charge you to be on this show. I had a number of people already question if I was going to try to do a bait and switch thing where I tell you about the show, get you excited, and then at the end say, oh, and by the way, it's going to be $500 for you to come on the show. That's not the case. I am so grateful for people that come on the show, and your payment to me is your time and your focus and your energy and your ideas. And we're getting a little background noise. Sorry, there's a giant backhoe going up the hill. So hopefully that's not overpowering. So no money changes hands. Why do I think you would be a good fit? So I started prospecting with roughly 50,000 people in a giant group that I was looking at. And in the past 15 years, I've developed strategies to hyper-focus my targeting, not only based on criteria in terms of what you do and your job and your company, but I have a text analysis program that I use in building B2B and B2C prospecting lists and doing lead gen. So I've used that text analysis to find a values match. So there's something about you and your experience, either your books you've written, your videos, the content on your social media sites, and the content on your LinkedIn profile that has lined up with multiple criteria that I find make for a great expert guest on the show. So that's how I found you. People also want to know how I found your email address. That's another specialty of mine, being in marketing for 15 years or so. I use every tool in the book to do that. So I use a lot of prospecting tools, list building, LinkedIn software, and I am able to aggregate data and append data until I get to like a 90% sure rate in terms of the email addresses that I use. So that's the one I used for you. So that should answer that question. Who is my audience? This is a big one. The audience 3 years ago for the first season of the podcast was pretty close to this, the numbers that I have here, and this is really what I'm expecting as we relaunch. So I think 30 to 40% of my listeners, and probably the guests as well, but 30 to 40% are going to be leadership decision makers at mid-market or large enterprise companies. So these are generally chief learning officers, head of talent, HR managers, HR directors, and they're decision makers that help really guide the team, who they hire, and then how they train them and make them successful once they're at that company. So those organizations are between 500 and 5,000 people typically, and that's about 30 to 40%. Another 30 to 40% are the founders and the CEOs, so the people who actually founded and are running companies of smaller companies, maybe 10 to 100 people. I get a lot of those CEOs who are really driven to be the front runner in their learning and training technologies and the cultural initiatives, developing core values, and creating programs that bring those values to life in their company. And those are another big chunk of the listeners. Another 20 to 30%, I guess 20 to 40% are solopreneurs. So people who are striking out on their own. They might be speakers, authors. They might be starting their own e-commerce business or an online service business, or anything that they are running the show. But the ideas on this show are for people who are interested in personal growth and development and adapting and learning about and acquiring the skill sets of people like yourself who have been doing this for years or decades and really know what they're talking about. So that's basically it. I think the rest of it is covered in the email. It goes through the interview format. There's 3 segments of the interview. It is why you do what you do, how you do what you do, specifically as it's related to learning and training, that second part, and then what it is you do specifically and the tools you use to succeed. So I hope this helps and you understand that this video is a way that I can talk to all 49 people who've scheduled a call with me for the next 10 days all in one video. So next step is, if this sounds great to you, I'm going to put a link at the bottom. If it sounds like a fit and something you can add tremendous amount of value in a conversation there, let's go ahead and book a podcast. The details of that are also in the email below. So if you want to go ahead and book that, I've deleted all my small calls over the next week or so. So I've freed up about 4 hours, 4 days a week to do that. So I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm excited to learn more about you and get to know you, and hope to see you on the show soon. All right, thanks. Bye.